everyone, welcome back. It's Melissa, and today we are going to be talking about some of the top makeup trends for this spring. So as you know, if you've been with me a little while, you know that these are some of my favorite videos to do. I really love doing the research, and then I typically crawl through my collection and find some things that'll work with these trends and bring these trends forward. This is not necessarily like, go buy this, go buy that. No, this is like, hey, look in your makeup collection, see if there's anything that'll work in these trends, and enjoy it. So that's what I've done today, and I'm going to share some of them with you. So before I get too far into the makeup trends that I researched, I have noticed another new trend in the makeup world, and that is color correcting. It's everywhere. It seems like all the cosmetic manufacturers got together, put their little heads together and said, hey, I have an idea. Let's do color correcting. I haven't hardly seen a brand in any price range that isn't doing a color correct. For me, I prefer to use a color correcting finishing powder once I'm done with my makeup and kind of use that to brighten my skin. And my absolute favorite, I have a brand new one here, is from e.l.f. It's their tone correcting powder. It's just this little mosaic powder. I love these. They're really finely milled, and if you really wanted to, you could dip your brush into one or the other and spot. You know, like if you wanted to, brighten under your eyes, you could use the yellow. This is my absolute favorite. NYX makes a very similar one, which I have in my use up for this year. I don't like it as well. It's not as finely milled, and this white powder has a lot of glitter in it, so I'm not too much of a fan of that, but I am trying to use it up. One other thing I do have is a lavender loose powder from NYX, and I think they sell other colors just in the loose powder, so if you just had something you were working on and you wanted to color correct, you could do that. I'm curious to know how many of you are interested in all this color correcting thing. So let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, so let's jump into some of the other trends that I researched. I have a Pinterest board that has a complement of all the different trend reports that I pulled these from. So if you're interested in looking at those, jump over to my Pinterest page and look at the board that says something like Spring 2016 makeup trends, and you can open each report and look at all the pictures that they have. Some of them are pretty wild. So the first trend that I saw in almost every single report was this blue eyeshadow, and it could range from a dark navy blue to a turquoise blue to a baby blue, aka color of the year, and anything in between. And you could see it in just as a pop of color under the eyes or all over the eyes. It pretty much is anything goes. Bring out your blue eyeshadow. I know you're all going, what the what? But for my look today, I chose to go a little bit more on the turquoise side, and I pulled out an old favorite, which is the Vice 3 palette. And this has such awesome colors in it. You could go dark navy. I chose to go into this turquoise blue just because how often do you have a chance to wear turquoise blue? And basically how I did this was I kept it very neutral up under my brow and in my crease and popped this bright color on my lids. Now this is a technique for all you hooded eye girls. It works great. You can wear a really bright color without it being overwhelming. So you can have that little pop of color when you look down, or part of your eyelid shows, and it's not like, whoop, you're wearing blue eyeshadow or turquoise eyeshadow or whatever it is that you choose to wear. If you have a more open eye, you might want to opt for just brushing that along the lower lash line. I thought about doing that in addition to this color on my lid today, but chose not to because I thought this isn't about doing the trend. This is about how to interpreting the trend to make it wearable should you choose to embrace this trend this year. So I think this is very wearable. I would certainly wear this out, probably not to work, but I would wear it out. So there were a couple other palettes that I could have dipped into that I'm just going to share with you as a thought. And the first one is the Lorac Pro 2. This has an awesome navy color in here. You could easily use that. And a full complement of neutrals and nudes to kind of do around it. And the other one is this NARS Dual Intensity eyeshadow palette. There's a great navy in there as well that you could easily pull out. So I encourage you to look through your collection. You know, the key here to making this kind of brighter color work is to keep the crease neutral and kind of soften it with a good crease shade for you in your crease. So I paired this look with a really neutral light blush. This is the Just Pinched Pink from Maybelline. It's the Master Glaze Cream Blush. If you haven't tried these, I love them. I think I have 4 shades of these. And I love a cream blush during the summer because you can kind of sheer it out and it doesn't look cakey. And I think this is gorgeous. And then on my lips, I pulled out MAC Viva Glam 5 for just a really pretty sheer neutral lip. Got a big bold eye. I kind of feel like, for me, I need to keep the lips, kind of balance one off the other. But if you like to have a bold lip with a bold eye, go for it. So the next trend I saw pretty universally across many of the different reports that I read was a big, bold lip. And primarily in, reds, bright pinks, fuchsias, crimsons, really vampy dark colors, even a little bit of ombre. I just posted a whole video on some of my favorite cool and neutral tone blue-based reds. So if you want to check that out, I'll include a link to that. But I also pulled out a new color that I am dying to wear this spring. This is the YSL Rouge pour Couture, the mattes, and this is shade 207. And one of the things I noticed with these big bold lips, a lot of the times they were showing it with a really almost a bare face. Like you've scrubbed your face bare and just slapped on some lipstick, you have no eye makeup on, and you just dash out the door, which I happen to really love that look for the summer because I think it's really fresh looking and you don't look overdone. You don't look like your makeup's melting. So I did do this look earlier for you, and I used a little bit of light foundation. So to protect my face, I used the bareMinerals Complexion Rescue because that has an SPF of 30. So it's summertime, you definitely want to keep your face protected. But it's not really enough coverage for me on a day-to-day basis, plus the shade's a tiny bit too light. So I added some of the FX Custom cover drops to it, mixed it up, blended into my face, and used a beauty blender to kind of sheer it out a little bit so it wasn't a real heavy application. And in that shot, that's all I have on. So the next trend that I noticed was a lot of glitter on the eye and sometimes on the face. There's one photo that I was like, oh my gosh, that's just weird. That's fashion shows for you. They really are going to really go out there and kind of do the extremes. However, this is the time that you may want to embrace some of your more glittery eyeshadows. I definitely will be pulling out this pixelated color palette from Japanesque because these have some of the most beautiful shimmery, glittery shadows that are totally, totally wearable. I just love these. So if you have this palette, definitely pull that out. And you can kind of go, you could do a pop of color like I've done today, or you can go more neutral here. Doesn't mean you have to be bright and in your face with that. The other thing that I pulled out from my collection, and if you have these are awesome. These are some luster drops from Lorac. There was a 4-piece set, I think not this past holiday season, the season before, but I haven't used these that much, but they are evaporating, so that makes me a little sad. But these are great for the summer because they're very sheer, but they offer a little bit of glitter to it. So I'm going to put a couple on here. So if you have these, these would be so much fun. I am definitely going to be pulling these out to wear when you're doing kind of that bare face look. Put a little bit of this really sheer glitter on the eye and a bright lip, I think that could be awesome. I'm sorry to see that these are not offered as a permanent part of her line. They were leading up to holiday, so I think they've also made an appearance on Haute Look. So, you know, keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. I think NYX makes some really pretty, like, glittery eyeshadows as well that would be a way to play with this trend and not spend a lot of money. So the next trend that showed up a lot, and I'm not surprised about this, it is what they're calling a glossy face. And I think that's kind of, you know, that whole pendulum swings from all those over-highlighted looks that are really super glimmery and sparkly to a more natural but still glowy look. So one of the ways you could really achieve that super easily is to take a little bit of your favorite face oil and just put a few drops and, you know, pat it onto the high points on your face. Or even something like this little MAC strobe cream, I think that would work as well, because it's not super sparkly, not super highlighty, if you know what I mean, and gives you just a nice little extra glow without looking like you're wearing a ton of makeup. So I'm just going to I put 2 drops between my fingers. And I think that gives you a beautiful, subtle glow. Okay, I have a couple of honorable mentions that I'm just going to talk about real quickly. One of the things I saw was air-dried hair, so I air-dried my hair today for you. And one of the things I do to kind of get a little bit more oomph and curl to it, a little more definition, is I use the Living Proof Curl Defining Style Cream. I think this does a fabulous job, and I did dry the top of it. I dried the top, the bangs, because I needed a little bit of definition and lift up there. And then as I was doing my makeup, I was just continually like scrunching along, scrunch and fluff and scrunch and fluff. And when I felt like it was mostly dry, I went in and I used a little hairspray to kind of hold it in place. Otherwise, I get a little flat. So that's something to play around with if your hair lends itself to air drying. Not all hair does, so if it doesn't work, don't do it. So another thing that was talked about a lot was faux freckles, using a really natural toned like eyebrow pencil and just drawing little freckles on your skin. Yeah, I'm just going to say right now, I think that's a little weird. However, if you have freckles, this is a time to embrace it and not cover them up so much. Maybe you move to like a sheerer foundation and let those freckles shine through. Embrace them. The other thing that they talked a lot about was this new grunge, and it's a really messy, sweaty look, like almost like you've been out clubbing all night. Your mascara and your liners maybe falling, you know, creeping down below your lash line. You've sweat off most of your foundation and you're super glowy. I think that would just make someone like me look like a hot mess, and that's not something I will ever do. But I think if you're young, maybe you could pull it off. I don't know. And the last thing is super exaggerated lashes, including, you know, a lot of false lashes, like Twiggy style lashes, lots of mascara, and I think, you know, the new mascara from Marc Jacobs, which I used today, the Velvet Noir, definitely gives, you know, a boost to your lashes. Any like thickening, lengthening, lots of coats of mascara, you'd be right on trend. So I'm curious to know what you think of these trends, which things you think you might try out. I'm going to include a little poll because I think that voting poll is super cool that YouTube has added, and you can either vote up there or leave me some comments below. I'm dying to know what you think of the new spring trends and what, if anything, you're going to experiment with. So if you're new to my channel and you're just stopping by for the first time, I would love it if you'd subscribe and join me for future videos. If you are already a subscriber, mwah, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you real soon in my next video. Take care. Bye.